Not say a warm welcome. It's very warm here. Welcome to all of you to Fundação Oriente for the book release of Faces of Colonial India, the works of Goan artist António Xavier de Trindade. António Xavier de Trindade, a famous painter from Goa, is popularly called the Rembrandt of the East. He was an outstanding portrait artist of his time. However, with the exception of his works, not much was known about the artist till now. Well-known historian Dr. Fatima Gracias has carried out research on this great artist to be able to understand his art, work and life. The outstanding research has culminated into a beautiful book, Faces of Colonial India, the works of Goan artist António Xavier de Trindade. I now request our special guests, Dr. Isabela Santa Rita Vas, Dr. Fatima Gracias and architect Eduardo Kol de Carvalho to come on the dais. I would like to call upon architect Eduardo Kol de Carvalho, delegate of Fundação Oriente, to welcome the guests.
Good evening. Dr. Fatima Gracias of Portugal in Goa, Dr. Fatima Gracias, Isabela Santa Rita Vas, Mrs. Nelly Lealis, Mr. Soren Dijal, Mrs. Priya Newman, other members of the Trindade family, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. We should have with us today architect Charles Correa to chair the release of the monograph of the Goan artist António Xavier de Trindade. Unfortunately, his health condition does not allow him to join us. Let me wish him a complete and quick recovery. A warm welcome to all members of the Trindade family who have honored us with their presence here today, and trust that we can count on your permanent support for the promotion of the work arts of AXT as well as Angela Trindade. The release of Faces of Colonial India, works of Goan artist António Xavier de Trindade by Dr. Fatima Gracias, is no doubt a very special occasion for Fundação Oriente in India. In 2004, after negotiations between Trindade Trust and Fundação Oriente, a precious collection of 144 items, including 119 paintings of António Xavier de Trindade and his daughter Angela Trindade, was donated to Fundação Oriente for a permanent exhibition in Goa. After several years, we succeeded in getting from the Government of India full permission to bring these precious artworks to Goa after being temporarily stored at Museu Oriente in Lisbon. In the presence of the Governor of Goa, Trindade trustees and Chairman of the Board of Fundação Oriente, a permanent exhibition of paintings of António Xavier de Trindade was inaugurated at our gallery in November 2012. And since then, different other exhibitions like the present Light, Colors and Emotions, an exhibition of religious paintings by Angela Trindade, have been displayed. Together with temporary exhibitions, we have been publishing different brochures highlighting various aspects of AXT and Angela's works. With the catalogue previously published by the Georgia Museum of Art, those brochures gave to the public an idea of the importance of AXT in the context of art of India. Nevertheless, we felt that these were not enough to give a comprehensive idea of Trindade's art. Fundação Oriente felt that AXT and his daughter Angela have much more to be unveiled, and with that in mind, we instituted a research scholarship as a first stage on AXT and currently on Angela Trindade. The selection of candidates was not easy, as all of them guarantee professional and good work but the jury in Lisbon eventually awarded the research scholarship to Dr. Fatima Gracias. The focus of the research was to be on AXT, the man and the artist, and we are very happy with that decision. Dr. Fatima Gracias systematically updated Fundação about results of her research, and I can confirm that in the beginning it seemed very difficult to find the requested information and the documentation on the artist. It seemed that apart from the Trindade collection exhibited at Fundação, AXT works disappeared from this world together with his existence. Dr. Gracias was unable to unearth the treasures of Trindade's work and history, but she never gave up. Then I noticed how important is the Goan world network of relations, because through the cousin of the cousin and the friend of the friend, Dr. Gracias reached the family, the art collectors, and finally the Trindade's art that unveiled the glories of AXT works. After tremendous difficulties, but as well as exciting research, Dr. Gracias was able to trace Trindade's career and life as a man, as a father, and as a genius, and you will confirm it after reading the book. The day I got the manuscript, I scarcely could stop reading it till I reached the end, as the text, apart from the much relevant information, gives us an enthusiastic way AXT was discovered behind the shadow, as the book is as enjoyable as a novel. Dr. Gracias worked very hard during research as well as after it, because the final result in what concerns design and printing was possible only because she didn't miss one single day to follow the process till the book, which was designed and printed in Delhi, reached Goa. This book is not only very well written, and its contents extremely important for a just promotion of the artist, but I am sure it was completed at the right time, as if a few more years had passed, most probably the sources would have disappeared. The present monograph will be also most relevant for scholars and researchers, who from now on can use the book for their own studies and theses, which for sure will promote AXT in India and abroad. This book definitely confirms AXT as one of the most important artists of his period in India, but I wonder if not one of the most important in Asia as well. After the monograph, it is up to the new researchers to conclude if I am right or wrong, as the book is a starting point, not a destination. We may conclude that good results put an end to our mission. It's quite true that we are very proud of Dr. Fatima Gracias' achievements, but the present book is the beginning, not the end. At Fundação Oriente, we'll keep doing our best to promote the memory and work of Trindade, both father and daughter. But it's also up to you, dear friends, to contribute to it. How many relatives and friends of yours visited that art gallery after your recommendation as one of the most important cultural attractions in Goa? You might have taken your family and friends to Goan or Kalangut, but most probably you have forgotten this gallery. I'm sure all of you are very proud of Francisco Luís Gomes or Gama Pinto, but António Xavier de Trindade is no less important. And the difference between the artists and the others is that visiting the gallery of art, anyone will be delighted and enriched with the paintings of Trindade. While thanking to Dr. Fatima Gracias for the brilliant work, Professor Isabela Santa Rita Vas for the presence and beautiful words I know she will present us today, while acknowledging Trindade's family for the great support in the past and in the future, while grateful to our co-publisher Broadway Publishing House, I wish that from now on AXT paintings will be a Goan touristic attraction for the benefit of public and promotion of Goan identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Eduardo Kol de Carvalho. We will now have the book release, which we very eagerly awaited for.
This is the book.
Dr. Isabela Santa Rita Vas will now introduce the book. Dr. Isabela Santa Rita Vas is the former head of Department of English and Vice Principal of Dempe College of Arts and Science, Miramar. She is also the founder member of the Mustard Seed Art Company, a theatre group. Author of Frescoes in the Womb, 6 plays from Goa. Dr. Isabel is a recipient of the Goa State Award. I request Dr. Isabel to please come to the podium.
Thank you, Natasha. Dignitaries, friends. It is indeed an honor for me to stand here this evening for the release and the launch of this really wonderful book. It is, after all, a tribute to a great painter. It is also the work of my good friend, Dr. Fatima Gracias, and it is the result of the initiative of Fundação Oriente Goa and architect Eduardo Kol de Carvalho. My brief is to introduce the book. Difficult because I'm not a historian, I'm not an art critic, but I must confess that I learned to be an admirer of this beautiful painter and a lovely human being. The title of the book is Faces of Colonial India, the work of Goan artist António Xavier de Trindade. The book begins with a small section that has been entitled Backdrop and is followed by 5 chapters. Backdrop is actually Fatima's personal note on how she got involved in this research and how she went about it. I will not steal words from Fatima's mouth. Suffice it to say that she believes that destiny brought her into this research. Once you read the book, the foreword itself will show you how the steps carried her very deliberately into the making of this book. What have her sources been? Oral information, unpublished letters of the 3 Trindade daughters, the service book from the J.J. School of Art, newspaper reports and tributes, a catalogue published by the Georgian Museum of Art, registers of baptism, marriage, death of the Trindade family of Asnora, and visits to places. The first chapter is entitled António Xavier de Trindade, a short sketch of his life. Fatima set out on this, what she calls a journey of discovery, by actually visiting places. And I'll take the liberty to read a little bit. On one Sunday and humid evening of May 2013, we set off for this wooded village to view the ancestral home of the great artist, where he spent his childhood and early adolescence. We were told that the house of the Trindades was located between the church and the school. We needed to know the exact directions to the house that the villagers called Frandiger in Konkani, which is in English means the house of friars, an apparent reference to the sons of the Trindade family, who were Dominican friars. At the marketplace, we approached a flower vendor, one of the many standing by the roadside with seasonal flowers like mogra, zayo, aboli, surunga, strung into garlands or fatin, to be offered to the gods and to decorate women's hairdos, particularly at the time of festivals like the colorful annual Zatra, taking place that evening at Sirigan, the nearby village. In fact, that evening, one could see the fire dancers in colorful costumes along the road, waiting for transport to Sirigan to participate in the Zatra. Without hesitation, the flower seller directed us to take the road that goes to the church, and just before the church, turn to the right and go further up the road to the left. You will recognize these as typical Goan directions. The ancestral house of the Trindades at the Bairro Campos is by the side of a narrow road. However, the portion of the house where the artist in the making lived with his parents and siblings no longer exists. What is left is just a pile of old stones with palm and areca trees down below. No roof, no walls, not even a pillar. Part of the house. As architect Eduardo said, it is quite possible that history may destroy traces of a life and work. And so we begin to see the significance of a book like the one Fatima has just completed. António Xavier de Trindade was born in Sangue in 1870, and other villages associated with his name are Asnora and then Sawantwadi, which is out of Goa, and eventually Bombay, two specific locations in Bombay, Dobitalau and Mahim. And the house, which is now named Casa Bianca. The Trindades were probably attracted to these localities because there were many Goan families living in these areas. They also boasted of a Portuguese legacy of churches, and they were linked to urban Bombay by rail. Trindade's family, the wife, Florentina Petronila Noronha, and the children, Anália, Zeferine, Gabriel, Angela, Clara, Antoinette, Esther, José. There's quite a section about the family. I'm tempted to read out to you the whole book, but I shall resist the temptation. And I'll read some little passage about his work and income. While Ex Trindade taught at the JJ School of Art and painted in his spare time, Florentina, his wife, managed the house and their large family on a tight budget and saved shrewdly for a rainy day. The entire salary was handed over to her to run the household, whereas all the commissions António received from his paintings were used for his own expenses and entertaining. Florentina could not at times understand or accept her husband's attitude towards money, particularly his advice to his children never to love money. In a letter written decades after his death, Esther, the youngest daughter of the artist, says, "My father knew nothing of my mother's savings, and rightly so. As he was very generous and free with money, it meant nothing to him, and gave it away to the poor, struggling artists and relatives who needed it." During World War I, money was scarce, and there was also scarcity of essential foodstuff, writes Angela. A.X. Trindade would exchange a painting for a packet of tea and sugar, or would sell a painting for any price to buy provisions and other daily necessities for the large and growing family. During this period, some artists in Bombay were known to have sold their paintings even to buy cups of tea. Paintings in those days were undervalued, and lovers of art had little money to buy them. Fatima has been telling me little anecdotes and interesting stories even as she wrote the book. And she said that this family was always full of music and full of merrymaking, and the neighbors called them the merrymakers. I believe Trindade enjoyed visiting the races, and if he won, he would stop before he reached the house to buy chana, and the neighbors would watch and say, "Papa won the race, Papa won the race." He loved to have people around him. But all was not hunky-dory for A.X. Trindade. He lived with diabetes, and a point came when one of his legs was amputated and then the second. António Xavier de Trindade continued painting. He had no money to pay doctors, so he painted their portraits. He died at the age of 65 in 1935. Chapter 2 is entitled Rembrandt of the East. This artist began painting at the age of 17. One section is about his styles, which, as most of us know, were mainly Western in style and technique. At the same time, his paintings exhibit an intimacy with local lifestyles, and he has been regarded as one of India's leading realist painters of the early 20th century. Art critics comment on his purity of tones, freshness of light, the gift of color that he has, the glimmering texture and the sense of character in his portraits, which gained him the sobriquet of Rembrandt of the East. Portraiture, of course, was his forte. He has attempted portraits of a great variety of subjects. Eminent persons like Annie Besant and Lady Tata, but also people from the streets, mendicants, family, relatives, friends. Those of you who have stepped into the gallery will not be able to forget the painting entitled The Artist's Family by the Lamplight. Any Goan who looks at it is stirred and recognizes that scene with the petromax and a wooden bench and the children clustering around the table one evening, the children do their homework, and somebody inside at the door is probably waiting for the time to bring out the pears and kalchemor, kalchikuri. It is so Goan, as are many other paintings of his, portraits. There is one of the Armenian sisters, and you look at the two of them and you realize they are probably marginalized people in the large city of Bombay. My favorite is an unusual one, Goan, the family cook. Typical. You look at him, you recognize the Goan cook. His eyes, his rather powerless kind of feeling. And yet, there is something in him that tells us that given his space, he discovers power. And strangely, like most of the other subjects of this painter, he wears something around his neck. Just a thread maybe, but there is a point there that shines. Was that his soul? At times, AXT would go to the residences of the Maharajas, the Nawabs, the Nizam of Hyderabad, stay with these families and paint. He also liked to paint beautiful women in their native setting and attire. A woman in a blue sari with a pot is extremely striking. You can't forget it. The pot was an important item in village life. He has also painted a number of paintings of women with musical instruments. And Fatima has studied various aspects of these paintings, including the attire, the jewelry, and what they might reflect of the lifestyle. Apparently, António Xavier de Trindade's favorite subject, all-time favorite model, was his wife Florentina. Again, a very, very striking portrait in the gallery. Besides these portraits, he's got paintings on religious themes, nudes, landscapes. The landscapes include Mahim, Nasik, a Goan village well, Goan fishing boats at low tide. Besides all these illustrations, Fatima's book includes some of his correspondence. He makes mention of some of his other mediums, and she has an extensive list of the exhibitions where his work has been exhibited. That itself I find extremely remarkable, that she's been able to collate all this information. Chapter 5 is AXT and the JJ School of Art, where she places him amongst the art fraternity. Chapter 4 talks about his contemporaries and the art scene in India in the 19th and early 20th centuries, and makes mention of other big names like Ravi Varma, M.V. Durandar, the Tagores, and others. Let me read a paragraph. In the 19th century, the fashion of having one's portrait painted spread from the landed gentry to the rising elite of Calcutta and Bombay. After some initial reluctance, they employed artists from France, Italy, and England, as well as Indian painters, to paint portraits. Hanging of pictures became fashionable. Earlier, the Mughals did not hang pictures on the walls of their homes, but placed them in expensive albums. Hanging of pictures on the walls was done only in public offices. It was believed that sitting for a portrait and hanging the painting on the wall would lead to premature death. People believed that only pictures of those who had died could be painted or hung on the wall. The elite became the mainstay of Indian oil painters, itinerant artists who were commissioned to do works of art, not only painted but also restored pictures. Landscape painting was considered the preserve of European artists. Only a few Indian painters such as A.X. Trindade and M.V. Dhurandhar painted landscapes. After this time, the scene in art changes and the upsurge of nationalism began to show itself in the field of art. Revivalism, the attempt to revive indigenous modes of expression and techniques, and Mahatma Gandhi's anti-colonial movement brought the rural population into prominence, and rural and tribal art began to be noted. Indian murals and miniature began to give more inspiration to the artists, and we see the emergence of the Bengal School of Art. Chapter 5 is entitled The Trindade Legacy and the Collection at Fundação Oriente, which consists, as Dr. Eduardo has told us, of 119 paintings and other objects, one engraving in wood, several medals, photographs, and these works are in oil, watercolor, pencil, charcoal. The book is a feast. It has numerous illustrations, some of which are paintings, some are family photographs, photographs of his service book, and something very charming are the book dividers, which provide photographs of his pencil box, the easel, the instrument box, and so on. There is a small section which is obviously bibliography, and another fantastic work that Fatima has undertaken is to put together a family tree comprising 5 generations, and the last is of course the index. Fatima calls this whole process a journey of discovery. I think it is perhaps more than just discovery, it is also a recovery. It is not that people in Goa do not know the Trindades. António Xavier de Trindade and Angela Trindade have been names that we've always heard. I remember as a child seeing a charcoal sketch by Angela in my aunt's house. But these are names that seem to be vanishing, and so recovery is important. Faces, says the title, and true enough, portraiture is one of the important contributions of this artist. And of course, the faces can also be the various facets of the world, of colonial India, including the art scene. The title also talks about a Goan artist, and the phrase gives us food for thought. All the many layers of significance that this expression brings to mind. And AXT comes alive in this book, his inscape and his outscape. My very sincere congratulations to Dr. Fatima Gracias, who has put together an extremely valuable book, an asset to art historians, art critics, social historians, and people like me, the general reader. And my congratulations to Fundação Oriente, especially architect Eduardo Kol de Carvalho for his inestimable contribution to scholarship. I must also mention Broadway Publications and congratulate Mr. Khalil Ahmed for his contribution to this effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Isabel, for your wonderful presentation of the book. I now call Dr. Fatima Gracias to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening. We have gathered here this evening to celebrate the two outstanding artists of the Trindade family. The book just released pays tribute to António Xavier de Trindade, who was also known as AX Trindade or AXT. And the ongoing exhibition inside the gallery, inaugurated last month, is a tribute to his daughter, artist Angela Trindade. These two great artists certainly are with us today in spirit, celebrating art and culture. Their remarkable work gives voice to their insight into the world around them. The Indian landscape, their deep faith, and their commitment to art color all that they did. The family also was very dear to the heart of both father and daughter. In a letter to one of her nieces, Angela Trindade writes, "I dedicated my entire life to the family, and the family loved me more than I deserve. We must all be united and loving and never waver from the path of love and self-sacrifice." António Xavier de Trindade was fundamentally a man of peace, and whatever people said of him, his comment was always a serene never mind. Angela called him never mind father. It is my fond hope that the Trindade family, those who are here present today and those who could not be here, will rejoice with this book. When I started researching on António Xavier de Trindade less than 2 years ago, I was not even sure I would be able to carry forward this project entrusted to me by Fundação Oriente. I had very little material to work with. Published sources on the artist available in public libraries in Goa and in Bombay were few, and those too in vernacular languages I was not familiar with. Besides, the project was time-bound and time was limited. I'm very happy that we have a book to celebrate, despite all the difficulties we encountered along the way. For me, this research was a great journey of discovery, to find new material and paintings never seen before in public domain. António Xavier de Trindade was a wonderful artist with multifaceted personality. He was not just a painter, he was a sculptor, he was an engraver, someone who was passionate about music. In fact, music and painting seems to run in the blood of the highly gifted Trindade family. AX Trindade was also a popular teacher at the Sir J.J. School of Art and superintendent of Lord Ray Workshop of Art of the same school. He was the first Goan and third Indian to be a member of the J.J. School, faculty of J.J. School of Art. More importantly, he was a luminous human being, a great man of an unassuming nature who never craved for fame or wealth, and who was generous and kind. Today, I'm grateful to so many people. Architect writer Eduardo Kol de Carvalho, delegate of Fundação Oriente, thank you for launching the book and for your kind words. You have been a constant support. I appreciate your enthusiasm, all the help and patience. Today, we miss here Architect Charles Correa, and we wish him a speedy recovery. To Consul General of Portugal, Dr. Rui Carvalho Bacela, and other dignitaries, thank you for your presence here. I'm grateful to my friend Isabel for the beautiful presentation of the book and for accompanying me in this journey. Fundação Oriente gave me the opportunity to do research in this book. I wish to express my thanks to Dr. Carlos Mojardim, President of the Board of the Directors, and Dr. João Amorim, the Director of the Foundation, for their support. I was greatly assisted in this research by Vivek Trindade, the grandson of the artist. Without his full cooperation, the monograph would not have been successfully completed. I'm grateful to him and to Bela Trindade Alves, Hyderabad-based granddaughter of the artist. My thanks also to Nina Trindade de Souza and Mrs. Mary Leela Rao Ellis. The design and the layout of the monograph were the work of Bonita Vas Simray of New Delhi, where the book has been printed. The front cover of the book carries a self-portrait in charcoal of António Xavier de Trindade, executed by him when he was 37 years old, that is in 1907. The book cover has a painting by AXT, the back cover, dated 1930. It is a landscape of Mandovi riverbank on Panjim side, overlooking the Range Marble Fort. This painting is in the custody of Fundação Oriente, Goan. The book saw the light of the day due to the efforts of architect Kol Carvalho and Mr. Khalid Ahmed of Broadway Publishing House. I'm very grateful to Mr. Ahmed for his offer to co-publish this monograph with Fundação Oriente. I wish to express my thanks to Yvonne Rebelo and other staff of Fundação Oriente. Thank you, Natasha, for comparing this evening. You have done a good job. Each one of you present here, some of you who have come from different parts of Goa, have added grace to this occasion. We have in our midst some of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the artist. Mr. Sonadri Rao, Mrs. Mary Leela Rao Ellis and her son, Ms. Priya Guman, trustee of the Trindade Foundation, Mr. Michael Monteiro and his daughter, Haska, who have come all the way from Hyderabad to represent his side of the family. Thank you for being here today. Nandita and Nihara, you made me very happy. It was a surprise and you completed my day. My sincere thanks to Trio Assunção Pereira, who is going to delight us now with music. Thank you and God bless.